in this case, until I get a speaker or a new device, so I can actually do it the way that we've been doing it. I'm just gonna do it like this right now, a little bit more of a video rather than just recording as of now. Until I get, in this case, my phone can't play a video while also recording. I can't do both on my phone. So I used my tablet, but it sadly it lost this life cycle in a sense of a way pretty much. It's not broken, but the battery just ran out. That does happen to devices if they're very old, because mine was like very old. If I talk differently, I have a fever blister, I'll be okay. If you guys noticed that I was talking a little bit different, but that's the reason. So yeah, I'm using my phone, and I want you guys to really listen and hear what people have to say, good or bad, what people have to say in general. So I don't know if we'll have enough time to do everything, so we'll try to do the best we can. If you need more context, please look at the previous podcast episodes before this. And yeah, before we begin, let us pray. So Heavenly Father, Lord Savior Jesus Christ, Holy Spirit, I truly thank you as we listen to Michael Knowles and Ben Shapiro and Stephen Crowder, maybe not today, but a little bit later. I just truly think we'll be able to understand them and understand why what they think is wrong and or sinful and just bad, generally. Well, again, understanding that these people are human beings, but also recognizing their flaws. That is what we should do. Judge all things in the sense of all. Okay, yeah. So I just truly think we'll be able to understand them and know maybe why they're doing this and why what they're doing is wrong in general. I truly think that. While also, again, trying to lead them to Christ and lead people to Christ, because my main objective of being on YouTube is to lead people to Heavenly Father, Lord Savior Jesus Christ, Holy Spirit. I truly thank you for that. In Jesus' name, amen.
Group of congressmen have floated a proposal to create an America First caucus in the House of Representatives. The caucus got the platform right here.
I just want to tell you guys, these are kind of old, like April old, so bear with me, but like I said, these are important. One, these are important, so if anybody is thinking about this, they shouldn't. And B, these people are still like this, until I can see a legitimate change. It has been a long time, at least 2 weeks or 3 weeks, but generally, if I'm correct, they're still the same person. How they need to be born again before it's too late. So, yeah. Not trying to pull any old drama or anything like that. Just show you guys how they are and just don't be like them. But pray for me. Pray for me. Pray for those who, who might not like you or you might not like them. Because that's what we should do. We should walk in love through Jesus Christ. Anyways.
It's a fairly modest endeavor to defend the American nation, to defend the, quote, Anglo-Saxon political tradition, and notably to oppose ugly architecture in federal buildings.
Ugly architecture. Gosh. Let's just continue.
To me, sign me up, right? Well, you understand. Some liberals have called it racist. Now, I know this will come as a shock to you. They never do that sort of thing. And I know this is going to come as a shock to you as well. Republican leadership, when squishy, hey, they're running away from it as fast as they can. But you know what? The Anglo-Saxon political tradition is a wonderful thing. And ugly architecture is a very bad thing. And we will get into all of the America First policy platform, even if the squishes won't. I'm Michael Knowles. This is Michael Knowles Show.
Okay, so my first comment right away is this. a few minutes in, guys, and Michael Knowles kind of just called himself a fascist. I didn't have to do it. He did it for me. Because if you guys actually do not know, most fascists want to protect the Anglo-Saxon tradition or way and destroy any type of art, culture, and religion that's not nationalist or, in this case, white or Western or quote-unquote Christian religion or anything that's not them / their art, culture, religion, even though all these things at the end of the day are subjective, aka depending on where you are. Like art. What is art? What is good art? What is even? What that is? I won't say socially constructed. That's just case by case. I think everyone can agree. Again, a few seconds in, and Michael Knowles is definitely a fascist. Because again, Anglo-Saxon fascists protect Anglo-Saxon way, as in no other way, no other culture, whatever like that. An Anglo-Saxon is usually, if I'm correct, like Eastern Europe, white, pretty much. There's more to, again, I want you guys to look up Anglo-Saxon and how fascists try to protect that. Again, a few minutes in. Alright, so before I let you guys listen, I just want to warn you guys, what he's going to say is going to be very offensive and maybe even downright disturbing. So, just to tell you guys, it might, oh boy, it might get very bad real quick. I skipped a lot, but this is near the end, so okay, alright, I can do this. Okay. It's this is why people need Jesus. This is why we need to walk in love, because there's love that passes all understanding. To love somebody like MK. Let's play it.
For not just among consenting adults, but even among children, a really disturbing place to have it. Texas. There's a 10-year-old boy in Texas. He just spoke before the Texas State Senate. He spoke to them regarding Bill 1646. This is a bill that acknowledges that it is child abuse to chemically castrate children.
What he's talking about, if I'm correct, is puberty blockers, which is not true. It is a big myth. It is sad. It is sad, but it's sad what the red states of the South are doing right now. If you don't know, Texas, Georgia, and of course Florida is pretty much making anti-trans kids medical bills, because that's what it is. Let's be real, that is what it is. That is what it is. Even though puberty blockers is a lot of times proven to work, and it takes a long time to even get some, pretty much puberty blockers are, in this case, for transgender kids, kids who have gender dysphoria. It helps them, it makes them, I've talked about it a little bit more, but I'll talk a little bit more in depth when I can, but pretty much it helps, it pretty much pauses puberty. It doesn't block it forever. It pauses the puberty to see when the child becomes an adult, to see if they want to transition. They don't immediately transition. This helps a lot of people, because for transgenders who have to take 2 puberties, 1 puberty is hard enough. Imagine 2. If I'm correct, it does raise the cases for transgenders to sadly commit suicide. And what they found is that puberty blockers is like, okay, pause puberty. I want to see if I do have gender dysphoria, and if I want to transition, if this is good for me, I want to see, because I just want one puberty. But most people want one puberty. This is what it's all it is. If you really look at it medically, it's nothing what Michael Knowles is saying or is about to say. And places like Texas are trying to take that away from them. Pretty much. Puberty blockers, what they pretty much do is they pause the puberty, and if you stop taking the puberty blockers, it goes back to the original puberty that you biologically had, in a sense of a way. And what this does is to A, reduce the amount of suicides with trans people, which should be a good thing. And two, it just helps the person with gender dysphoria to see if they want to transition when they are adults, so they don't have to do 2 puberties, which again is proven to raise the cases of suicides, sadly. So what puberty blockers do is just pause the puberty and see when the child, because the adult, wants a different puberty because of the gender dysphoria. Again, there's more videos that can explain all of this. In general, type in puberty blockers or about puberty blockers and about about gender dysphoria and all that. And sadly, Texas, Georgia, and Florida are trying to take that medical care that actually helps people. It's sad. It's sad.
And give them trans-sex hormones and mutilate their bodies to make little boys look more like little girls. So this little boy testifies before the committee. I hesitated even to play this clip.
Me too, for you, pal. I hesitated to be like, should I really? Could have gotten out.
But it's really out there. It's obviously very, very public
Yeah.
already. I'm gonna blur the kid's face. I'm not gonna refer to the kid's name
Medical bills are
because
scary.
his mother is obviously abusing him.
No, she's not. You don't even know that. See? That's good.
Listen to his testimony to see how far the country's got.
It's progressed.
I love ballet, math, science, and geology.
Nothing wrong with that.
I have free time with my cats, chickens, FaceTiming my friends, and dreaming of when I will finally meet Dolly Parton. I do not like spending my free time asking adults to make good choices. I've been having to explain myself since I was 3 or 4 years old. Texas legislators have been attacking me since pre-K. I am in 4th grade now. When it comes to bills that target trans youth, I immediately feel angry. It's been very scary and overwhelming. It makes me sad that some politicians use trans kids like me to get votes from people who would hate me just because I exist.
Yep.
God made me. God loves me for who I am, and God does not make mistakes.
Again, I can talk a lot about gender and what it means, identity, spiritual identity, all of that, a little bit later on. I'm not gonna do. Come on.
She's been giving everything she has to stand up for me.
Wow, there it is.
There it is. A proud mother doing the right thing for her child who most likely has or have gender dysphoria, and taking the right precautions and right care. But some Republicans, let's be real, some Republicans, if not the majority, don't want that. They don't care about transgender people. they're taking away the care that would actually help them of what they are going through. They're taking it away from them. And Michael Knowles likes that. He wants that. And what he's about to say, oh boy, it is disturbing. It is disturbing.
Essentially, you can listen to the rest of this if you want to. I suspect you don't. But you hear that line, my mom has been so wonderful, and there it is. If you didn't already know from the first part of this, that this poor little boy is being horrifically abused by his mother.
Again, he has no evidence, not at all.
You get it there. I don't believe that the boy came up with these lines of his own.
I believe he did. I believe he exists. Anyways.
Of course he didn't. And this rehearsed sort of caricature of what a woman is that he is performing, I don't think this was an invention of his own. I think this was put into his head, obviously. The idea that he's...
I mean, there are things that are put into people's heads that are good or bad, but like, the child most likely has some sort of a script, but I think he was capable of... Sorry, she. I believe that she was most likely capable of writing it down, thinking about it, most likely. And again, when we get more into these three people, we'll talk a little bit more about gender and how all this makes sense, and, you know, for anybody who might be concerned, and, you know, I'm a Christian, you're a Christian, but you might not understand, don't worry, hopefully I'll be able to just make a whole video on gender and all of that. But for now, trust me, what I'm saying is true, generally speaking.
And trying to convince adults of realities since he was 3 years old is obviously not true. 3-year-olds don't convince anybody of anything.
I mean, what do you mean by convince? Like, but,
Don't know anything. Is there very little...
oh, wait, no, it doesn't happen yet, but he does make a big statement that is disturbing, very disturbing, guys, but that's gonna come up.
Public? I don't know. I'm not really familiar with all the various designations. You're a very, very little kid when you're 3 years old. And this kid's pervert mother decided that she wanted to...
You don't even know. Like, again, just actually, not even...
daughter, he's sort of a little son. And so she dressed him up like a little daughter, and now she has him trotted out, protesting a law that would prevent him from being mutilated.
No, it will prevent him from actually giving the care that he needs. Sorry, giving her, maybe he, her, but if I keep saying he, I'm sorry. I am sorry. I'm gonna try to say her. Okay. They're taking away what she needs for her gender dysphoria, so she doesn't have to go to 2 puberties. So that the surgery would be most likely less, you know, I won't say painful, but just less stressful, and she might have a chance of living a longer life and not committing suicide due to cultural and sadly medical abandonment. And that's sad, and Michael Knowles doesn't care. He just doesn't care. But he is human. And we have to pray for him, that he'll be saved before it's too late. Okay.
The pastor. That woman should be in prison. She should not, around children, ever. A just society would acknowledge that and codify that in. But we no longer...
That she should be in prison for doing the right thing. Let that sink in. Michael Knowles thinks that this parent should be in prison over a conspiratorial lie by the right. That's disturbing. Okay? That is very... For anybody who agrees with me, please like this and spread the word. And comment on this video. Comment stuff that is true, because Michael Knowles has gone too far. He actually said, for the woman who is not abusing her transgender kid, he thinks, quote, she should be in prison. That might not be the exact quote, which I think it is, but he pretty much did said that she should be in prison. And that's going too far. Way too far. This is going too far. We actually need to do something about this, because this rhetoric hurts innocent lives. It does. We've seen it. It can happen with the insurrection of the Capitol. It builds up like this. It does. For like anti-transgender things. If I could, that was the context I was trying to say. Like this. We need to stop this. Please help me to stop this. Thank you. Again, the mother was doing the right thing, and
have the ability to do that. Because on the left, you've got them actively pushing for this stuff, to trans the kids, to castrate little boys, and on the right, the best that
and on the right, you have people who are trying to take away good transgender health to people who need it, and they don't want to because they're afraid and they believe in people like Michael Knowles. Let's be real. Plain and simple. Plain and simple.
Is, well, not until he's 18. Well, look, I might not agree with it, but, look, it's freedom. That's basically the best. I'm not talking.
And no leftist is really advocating for people under 18 to get hormone surgery or any type of surgery. Really, nobody really is for that. Maybe the radical, extreme left, maybe? Like, an extreme right doesn't care about trans. The extreme right is pretty much fascism at the end of the day. Let's be real. But,
you listen to the show. I'm not talking about our friends here, who obviously have a more sophisticated view of this. But I'm talking about the Republican leadership. Broadly speaking, they don't want to get into it. They just want to let the left run roughshod over the culture, even if it means mutilating little boys. Freedom. We would have a freer country if that kid's mother were in prison.
that is disturbing. We would be in a freer country if that mother was in prison, trying to help her child, but blocked by Republicans who are pretty much transphobic and are afraid, or at the least they're tricked by people like Michael Knowles. Let that sink in.
People like it. We would have a freer country if we recognized.
But no, we had a freer country if people like you were not talking about trash that actually harms people's lives. That will have a freer country. But I don't want anything to happen to Michael Knowles. I don't. I pray for him. That's what I can do, and I can also do this as well, through God. Speak out against his nonsense fascistic ideas. Fascistic means fascist tendencies. If I'm correct, that's what fascistic means. Like, you're not fascist, but you have fascistic things, you know.
Limits to vice and licentiousness and evil acts like castrating little kids.
Evil? Okay, sure.
If we took freedom, if we took the ability of these people to do these sorts of things away from them, we would have a freer country.
No, we will have a. It'll be a little bit closer to a fascistic government. Let's be real. Michael Knowles wants a fascistic government. He wants a police state. That's what he wants. We get more into that.
Because liberty, of course, requires limitations, and licentiousness and liberty are not synonyms. But we're not allowed to acknowledge them as synonyms. George W. Bush, former President George W. Bush, just came out. He's got a new book out about immigrants, and he painted all these pictures of immigrants. He said, America, we've got to be nicer to immigrants.
We do, but Michael Knowles hates that. Because it's different, I guess. Alright, I'm back.
Do you want to be involved in the immigration
Yeah, I do
discussion?
in a way. In a way. I don't want to be prescriptive. I don't want to tell Congress how to do what they're doing. I do want to say to Congress, please put aside all the harsh rhetoric about immigration. Please put aside trying to score political points on either side. I hope I can help set a tone that is more respectful about the immigrant, which may lead to reform of the system.
That's it, you know, and at this point,
Good answer, but of course, Michael Knowles hates change. He hates that word. It's a trigger word for him, guys. He does not like it.
cuts in and says, you know, you, President Bush, you'll remember when you used to say all these wonderful things on immigration. She plays the clip.
You gave an Oval Office address on immigration.
I did. These are not contradictory goals. America can be a lawful society and a welcoming society at the same time.
Yeah, we can do that, but Michael Knowles doesn't really want that. Let's be real.
So there is the line, right? That's right, I did. That's right, you got me. The meaning of that, of course, is that
What's the meaning, like?
if you can be a lawful society and a welcoming society,
Yeah, you can do both. You can have a pretty good border and a welcoming, like, attitude, you know? And not let people be in cages and other things. Biden, like, come on, put them somewhere else. I'm just saying, Trump didn't do it because he doesn't like it. But Biden, like, come on, like, I gotta admit, like, that's, like, one of my criticisms. Like, I think people are still in cages. I mean, I know your main job was to defeat COVID. You're doing that pretty well, but we, you know, we still have cages. You know, we gotta do something about that. But again, President Trump didn't do it because he didn't care, but I think Biden does. And I get it, he's a busy guy, but, like, just pray that people will not be in cages, because, no, people shouldn't be in cages. Like, no.
is really saying is we can, through the law, massively expand our immigration. Yes.
Is that wrong? What would you mean by expand? I guess expand to Michael Knowles is immigrants bad, or something like that. I don't know. What's
Want to do it, and that's what liberal Republicans want to do.
is that bad? How is that bad? Please explain. No, he hates change, guys. Remember, he doesn't like a balance. He just wants far right wing, if not fascistic, like things. Because again, he's for the like Anglo-Saxon tradition. So, like, I mean,
But my question is, can we be a lawful society and be a little bit less right-wing?
why would you? I do have a comment here about that. Now, again, this isn't actually Michael Knowles actually commenting and me responding to his comments. This is just me doing a full comment. So what I read is me. This isn't okay. Quote unquote Michael Knowles. Let's be a little bit more or less welcome when it comes to immigration. Okay? Me. So you want America to be a little bit more fascist. Well, actually, no. Actually, we should hear a little bit more because I think it would actually make more sense if we do a little more. But he said, sorry. I forgot when exactly I made the comments, but I think I do them somewhere near the end of his statement. statements. Stupid statements. But anyways.
That's what the immigration restrictions for. Because right now we take in about 2 million people a year. Way more than any other country on earth. Way more than we can handle. You can see the culture crumbling all around us because of these problems.
How is the culture crumbling? I mean, I guess your fascistic culture is kind of crumbling and slash rising, kind of, within the right.
Diversity without any unity. Diversity without any assimilation. So can we just maybe cool it down a little bit, like the majority of Americans want to do? Are we allowed to do that? And the answer, of course, according to these guys...
Now, I don't know if the majority of America want less illegal and legal immigration. I don't know. He might have got that from March of 2020, like his little COVID thing. I think he still actually has it. I think he actually still has it in his pocket. Guarantee he still has it in his pocket. Like, Mike, it's 2021. Like, come on.
But to George Bush, and according to the Democrats, is no. Some Democrats now are trying to pass this around saying, look, even George W. Bush holds a liberal position. Yes, the Bush family has represented the liberal wing of the Republican Party since 1952.
I mean, yeah, I think we need liberal and conservative people and parties. But, again, Mike doesn't want that. He wants full-on conservative, fascist, or at least fascistic-like people. That's all he wants. He's against Big Tent. Even he kind of says it himself. He's against Big Tent.
Adam, who says that illegal immigration is an act of love. You have George W. Bush, who says he's a compassionate conservative, more compassionate than who?
Well, more compassionate than you. Like, you're, I guess, a conservative. Or political conservative, I guess I can say. Be more...
H.W. Bush says he wants a kindler, gentler conservatism. Kindler, gentle.
Yes, we should. But you want more fascistic conservatism, which is bad.
And Prescott Bush, the grandfather, who's the former U.S. Senator, he was the first treasurer of Planned Parenthood. They've always represented the liberal wing. Can we have a conservative...
Liberal means Planned Parenthood. Planned Parenthood means baby killers. You know, Planned Parenthood doesn't just do abortions, right? That's why we have abortion clinics in Planned Parenthood. They're kind of different. They are kind of similar, but they're kind of different. Anyways.
Voice, anywhere. GOP, anywhere. This new caucus that some congressmen were going to make. Can we have...
Yeah, I would, want you guys to look at that, commission. It's really bad. It's really bad. I think he talks about it. It's bad.
Country? I hope so. I think we can take our political rights back in our political tradition, which derives from an Anglo-Saxon tradition. I don't think that it is inevitable that we be governed by sort of neoliberal progressive Republicans like George W. Bush, or...
You mean more humane? Oh, like, well, let's be real here. A little bit more, more kinder, more gentler, more, reasonable conservatives. Let's be real
progressive
here.
Technocrats like Dr. Fauci. I think there is a chance that we can take our political rights back.
Take our political rights back. Like, at the end, like, ritually, for the idiotic three. Michael Knowles, Ben Shapiro, Steven Crowder, at the end they're like, we gotta fight, we gotta take back our rights, we gotta fight like heck. Like, seriously, like, if something like an insurrection happens again from the right, I'm like, FBI, if you're listening, here's the evidence. Almost at every end, literally, almost at every end of Michael Knowles, Ben Shapiro, and Steven Crowder's videos, they're like, we gotta fight back, we gotta take back our country, we gotta do something, yeah. Like, I mean, that's why an insurrection happened, because he has to fight back, trial by combat. Like, come on. That's why people like me have to stand up against this and make sure something like insurrection of January 6th doesn't happen again. Or anything close to that where the right really gets physical. We can't let that happen.
radical reason and govern ourselves,
Both sides, but especially the
or
right.
who's going to support us in that effort? Or are we perhaps going to have to do it ourselves? I'm Michael Knowles. It's the Michael Knowles Show.
And I do not care. Like, but yeah, we're gonna go a little bit more further back. We're gonna try to do most, if not all of it, because I think if you do all of it, I think the jury should do all of it and be like, oh yeah, that's where that comment is. But to read the comment that I was going to previously read, I wanted to just let me finish that. Quote unquote Michael Knowles. Let's be a little bit less welcome of when it comes to immigration. You know, protect our Anglo-Saxon way of values. You know, just say, me. So you want America to be a little bit more fascist, and a little bit more, and a little bit more, and a little bit more. Michael Knowles. Yes. I mean, no, just protecting our Anglo-Saxon way of living, our conservative Christian values. I'm not fascist. I hate Hitler. Mike. Mike. Sure. Okay, dude. Yeah, sure. Okay. Sure.
The America First Caucus.
So this is pretty much what the American First Caucus is about, and I'm gonna just do point by point debunk of what it actually is at the end of the day, based on what I've researched and based on truth. And again, what I say is true, but don't just take it from me, take it from other people, research this yourself, look at the American First thing and see if any of it's true or anything like that, you know. Oh boy.
Platform. Here it is. I have this document. Am I even allowed to possess this now?
Well, it could be. It depends. It could be. It could be part of the people who believe that the. I don't know, Mike. I'll be careful.
Racist, bigoted.
It is. It is fascistic as well. Very fascistic.
That's a fun word. Nativist, awful, terrible. Okay.
Not very extreme nationalist. Yeah, it is.
We begin with the name. America First.
Oh gosh.
Like, really? About this name, America First. It refers to.
Well, we don't know. So, the history of what America First was. Well, America First seems to be like, you know, our country first. But how it was presented and how it was expressed, it was more of very extreme nationalists, which is part of fascism, very extreme nationalists, all that to continue.
White supremacists, the term America First has existed in the U.S.
Well, yeah, well, white nationalists took the America First statement, I guess you can say. I don't know the whole history of the phrase America First.
A very long time. And sure, unsavory characters, but much more often it's been uttered by very in U.S. politics for a very, very long time. And sure, sometimes the phrase has been uttered by unsavory characters, but much more often it's been uttered by very savory characters.
Who? What? Who? You, Marjorie Taylor Greene? Like who? Who? Please.
The most famous iteration of America First was the America First Committee, which all the libs say was terrible. And
well, I don't remember the committee. I don't remember that one.
That is the America First Committee, going back, I guess, almost a century now, 80 years, included William F. Buckley Jr., included John F. Kennedy, included Gerald Ford, 2 presidents.
Oh, I know what that is. Yeah, I think it was during the Tea Party, like, movement.
Potter Stewart, the Supreme Court Justice, Frank Lloyd Wright, speaking of architecture. Lots and lots of people. This was a broadly isolationist group in the United States, but it
makes sense.
It cut across party lines, and it was isolationist given a particular country. The phrase was then next made famous again by President Donald Trump. You know, he said, America First. That's going to be our credo. That's going to be...
Even though it wasn't really America First. I mean, he didn't really help America. Well, now we have the American Jobs Plan, the American Rescue Plan, and other things that will actually help Americans. With Trump, the main problem with Trump's presidency is that he tried to run America like a business. Well, whereas Biden is at least trying to lead America like a house. Trump tried to lead America like a business. Well, now Joe Biden's trying to make it more like a house. And that's why you see in Trump's presidency, it was more about money. With race relations, he just threw money and like, hey, I got it, guys, I did it, guys, I did it. Wrong, bad Trump impression. If I had a little bit more time, I could do a pretty good Trump impression. But anyways, well, Biden's more like, we gotta do this more like a house, okay? Again, bad Biden, I'm sorry, bear with me. But for real, that was the main problem. That was the main problem with Trump's presidency. He tried to throw money on things that shouldn't be. Yeah, record black unemployment rate. Sure. How did that help with race relations? Again, Trump just threw money to things, while Biden is actually at least trying to do things, to have conversations with people. And, you know, anyways.
All rallying cry. All right. So what does the platform actually say? It's like an 8 or 9 page platform. I recommend you go check it out yourselves, but here are the main points. Election fraud is bad.
Yes, we know, but there wasn't any election fraud.
Republicans and Democrats have pointed out for years that there are vulnerabilities to the election process, so we want to implement a national voter ID. This is extremely...
Yeah, that is true, but on the left, they actually kind of, they're like, yeah, but on the right, it's so conspiratorial, and it kind of turned into an insurrection. Attempted insurrection, I should say.
Popular across all Americans, including every demographic group. They want to look into curtailing mail-in voting. Yep, they want to look into fraud.
I wonder why, because Daddy Trump said so.
2020, such as, and just to give you an example.
Of course, because, we just want to make sure everything was okay. No, we want to overturn the election because Trump, good. All the time, good. Daddy Trump, good. No, fam, no.
The least controversial example, the state of Pennsylvania violating its own state constitution because the election...
Which I think has been debunked. I need to know.
Okay, makes perfect sense. Next bullet point, sovereignty. America is founded on the basis of...
When the right talks about sovereignty, you know it's gonna be fascistic. Like, I'm just kidding, but... that is kind of a little bit true. When the right talks about sovereignty, it's,
One state sovereignty.
It's about
At the federal level, it means we need to expose deep state actors, shrink the regulatory state, and eliminate thousands of regulations, and indeed entire bureaucracies. That's just
wow. Yeah, I was,
conservative boilerplate. Nothing controversial there.
Nothing controversial, I guess, sure.
Big tech firms have become the most powerful arbiters of information in history, and we've got to be able to do something about that. It's starting with Section 230. Yep. About that for... Again,
conservatives aren't really being targeted. They're just filing TOS more. They just hate TOS. That's really what it is. They hate TOS.
Years at this point. Immigration. The American...
Oof. When the right says something about immigration, you know it's gonna be for... No. Sometimes, but no, not all the time. Because we have George W. Bush, and he's a Republican, So, not all Republicans are fascists, just the radical Republicans, okay?
First caucus recognizes that our country is more than a mass of consumers or a series of abstract ideas. It's a nation with a border and a culture. Yep, and here's...
It is, but the culture is it's a melting pot, It's Great American melting pot. It has multiple cultures. Literally, New Orleans is way different than New York. We're in the same country, but sometimes it feels like different countries, different cultures and creeds. and that's a good thing. But again, Mike doesn't want that. He doesn't want difference. That's difference to him is treason. Something from Ur-Fascism by Eco. Umberto Eco.
Line that got them in trouble, with a common respect for uniquely Anglo-Saxon culture.
Remember, guys, Anglo-Saxon. Very, very key point with fascists. Very key point.
Traditions. Yeah, that's all true. That's all true. We'll get into this Anglo-Saxon term that the libs and the squishes are trying
That the Aboriginal people are saying that it is fascistic because it is. It is. It's been used that way for years.
But of course, everyone agrees with that point on immigration. Every conservative agrees with it. Infrastructure.
What's a conservative? Because I'm a conservative. I'm a physical conservative, not political, physical. Just point that out. I'm a physical conservative libertarian. Physically, I think some things should be conserved, others should be liberated. Sort of a balance. Politically, I guess you can say I'm a centrist, but I don't think I really am a centrist. Like, I believe abortion is bad, but I don't. But that doesn't necessarily mean I think that abortion should be illegal. I can get into that one day. But anyways, it's continue.
They say they want beautiful architecture, not hideous architecture.
What's beautiful and what's hideous? Is beautiful straight white males or like what? Like, come on, what is beautiful? Because art is like, that's subjective. That's like in the eye of the beholder, pretty much. Like, and again, fascists tend to do that. They try to determine things that are subjective to something that's objective, which is not true. Again, it talks about this in Ur-Fascism by Umberto Eco, about art and how, there has to be a specific type of art or it wouldn't be art at all, which is, again, subjective. Art is subjective. But that doesn't mean that we in this country generally have a good idea of what art is. Because to me, well, see, I think, like, if you paint a toilet or anything like that, that is art. You are being artistic. You are trying to portray something, or just trying to paint a toilet. But there's good art and bad art, sometimes. But again, that is arbitrary, if I'm getting that right. That's subjective. That is socially constructed. And since we live here, if we try to paint a toilet and say that's good art, some people will be like, well, it's a toilet. How is that good art? Which I can agree, but I can also agree that, well, to others, it is good art. But of course, we all have our natural biases that could be good or bad, and for me, I don't think painting a toilet is necessarily good art, unless if it's like a diamond toilet or something like that, or a toilet that looks very realistic. Like, oh, you painted that? It looks very realistic. That's good art. But again, that is subjective. But like, people with fascistic tendencies or who are fascists want objective art. That is that, and anything that's not that is not art at all, which is again subjective. Hopefully I got that right. But anyways, yeah, that is.
Yep, sign me up. If that were the only plank, I would sign up to join this.
Yep,
this
of
club.
course you would.
Foreign aid.
Again, I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised at this.
They're generally opposed to foreign aid.
Yeah,
but it's not.
Yeah, they're generally against foreign aid. Yeah, they are. They're, conspiracy theorists. People who they hate foreign people. That's a typical fascistic thing to do. Typical fascist thing to do.
Ends to it. They're just saying American tax dollars should not go toward teaching gender studies in Pakistan.
Whatever that means, but okay, sure. That's bad. That's what we should stop. Yes, we. Okay. How is this bad? Please, I would like to know.
So yeah, they're basically against foreign aid, but
they're racist. They're racist. Like
national security. They oppose the liberal imperialists. This one's real Sony.
Liberal imperialists. Ooh, scary. People who think that, immigrants are human beings and transgenders are, transgender people are human beings. And, yeah, art is subjective. Yes, those are the liberal imperialists. What? Propaganda. Typical fascist thing to do, too. Propaganda. Anyways.
And neoconservative, yep, a lot of conservatives agree with that. Coronavirus,
I don't. Well, I'm not political conservative, so...
Been a big power grab, yep. Trade, we need to get fairer trade, yep, totally
Yeah,
makes
but
sense.
what's fair trade?
We want to protect our environment, but we don't want to...
You want to protect... Sure, you do. You want to protect the environment, sure, but yet you don't recognize something that would actually help the environment. But of course you don't want to go too far. Planting trees is good, but we need to do a little bit more than that, okay?
Make an idol out of it, yep, makes sense.
Yeah, even though you literally made an idol of Trump, but anyways.
It's all... The Chinese Communist Party is bad.
Yeah, I think people can agree with that, but generally you try to target the Chinese people instead of the government,
American education should not be geared toward hating America.
Yeah, but we should tell the truth that America was pretty hateful, and that we should hate some of the things that we as Americans did and try to do better, but you don't want that. You just want to have the Founding Fathers to be gods among men, and slavery not to be part of American history. You want to ignore everything that America did was bad, and you just say America good, America's the best, America did nothing wrong. If that's what you want, let's continue.
Like totally common sense stuff.
What is common sense? Because India's common sense is to do X, Y, and Z. I mean, I talked about this. Common sense is subjective. Like, this is common sense. People have different commons, right? My common thing is praying. Some people's common thing is shooting ducks. Like, common sense. Okay, sure.
No conservative.
You mean no fascistic conservative?
Disagree with very much of this platform, okay?
Okay. True American conservatives wouldn't be against this very, very fascist. I mean, you're saying it yourself. Like, I'm not saying conservatives are fascists, but to Michael Knowles, I guess they are.
But let's get to the most controversial point, the Anglo-Saxon political tradition.
Yes, the fascist position of protecting the Anglo-Saxon way of living, as in again, Eastern European, white, male, pretty much that. Pretty much.
Read that. I didn't bat an eye at it. Of course America has an Anglo-Saxon political tradition.
That doesn't mean it's good.
I say this as someone who derives from the Italians.
Alright, okay, sure. I'm just gonna... I'll be right back. I'm just gonna... Alright, I got the definition of Anglo-Saxon. Anglo-Saxon term used historically to describe any number of Germanic peoples who, from the 5th century CE, Common Era, to the time of the Norman Conquest, 1066, inhabited and ruled territories that are today or of England and Wales. Another definition is the Anglo-Saxons were a cultural group who inhabited England in the early Middle Ages. They trace their origins to blah blah blah. I was gonna find something I can't really find it right now. But pretty much, a lot of fascists tend to have an appeal to Western or traditional art, and any other art that isn't traditional is always just bad. Pretty much they're against change in general, especially with art. Anyways.
Italian people did not found Plymouth Colony. The Italian people did not make up the Continental Congress. Okay, there's obviously an English political tradition here.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean it's good. Like,
This term Anglo-Saxon, it's elicited lots of... This is the dog whistle. Kevin McCarthy,
it is a dog. Well, I mean, it kind of...
the leader of the House, the Republican leader in the House, says it's a nativist dog whistle.
It is. Like that. It is.
Let's turn to an actual person. Antonin Scalia, who, long ago, about 15 years ago,
A real conservative.
was asked about the American political tradition. He used exactly the same words. I want to bring you the brilliance, the wit of
Brilliance.
Antonin Scalia in full.
Diversity alone is not what makes a great nation. I mean, diversity alone makes some of the tribal societies of the world that never quite make it, such as some of the...
I mean, if you're tribalist, it's bad to be you. Like,
in the Middle East, where we're trying to establish nationhood. As I said earlier, it's part of our tradition that everybody can be an American, but there has been a common culture.
Yeah,
You don't have to belong to it, but there has been that.
What is it?
there. Yeah. What is it? What is the common culture? I wanted to know that.
What is it?
Okay, you want to know what it is, number
Yeah.
one?
Is there a bond? Is there a common culture?
I think, let me tell you a story. My junior year of college, I studied in Switzerland, and I used to get really annoyed when the French-Swiss professors I had would refer constantly to les pays anglo-saxons, the Anglo-Saxon countries, meaning England, the United States, Australia, New Zealand, okay, Canada. I said, hey, Scalia, I'm as American as anybody. Look at this face. Is this an Anglo-Saxon face?
No, I don't know. What?
I had never been to England, but at the end of my year, I went to England. I felt at home.
I felt that. You know, England tried to destroy America, right? But like we've gone past that. We forgave one another pretty much. But like, home, England, slavery. Like, that's good, bad, and the ugly. Good, bad, and the ugly. Is England home? No. It would be home for me, I guess. Cause I'm not white. I'm not white, as you can see. I'm not white. So it's like I don't even know my home, my ancestors, because we were taken into slavery by white people in the West. But that doesn't mean I say to white people now you are, like, all of them, you're racist, but like, at least recognize what did happen there, and what is part of the greatest sin, of the greatest American sin, is that you have an entire race in your country that can't go past, I think, three great grandparents. We can't go past that, we as black people, because I don't know where my ancestry is. They were taken from them, put here. It's out of their own free will. But many people don't talk about that. And again, like, I'm not saying white people, you need to have chains or you need to kneel before me. No, don't do that. No, at least recognize what you did. And I feel like I just need to say that in general.
There is no doubt that American culture, American common culture, which nobody has to belong to.
American common culture, which is subjective,
originates with English culture.
Yeah, I'm like that guy. I'm like,
Includes Shakespeare, it includes nursery rhymes that we all...
it pretty much includes anything that is pretty much white, European, Western. Because that is what Anglo-Saxon is. Like,
And that we use as examples, that's our common culture. And I think
but should that be our common culture? white Western Europe. Alright, I'm back, because if we're not being honest, American culture could be native / indigenous American like culture. American culture could be Louisiana culture, because this is the main problem with fascists, the main problem with people who think that we have one common culture, because we don't. America had again, Native Americans, indigenous Americans, black people by force, but still, the French, like, Irish, I don't think England is America's common culture. It's a lot of things. It would be wrong for us to have a common culture because of how America is. It wouldn't make sense first. And it would be very nationalist. Like, so, again, this person, Scalia? Yeah, I know Scalia. Well, I don't know Scalia, but you know. I heard the name, pretty much, and, I don't think I can agree with that. We do have a common culture in America. It's generally, like, enlightenment, which is one side, and God we trust is the other, but common culture? We have maybe common culture in kind of like a society, like, yeah, America has, like, you know, a pretty good traditional, like, culture in a sense of a way, as in, like, you know, freedom, liberty, and God we trust, you know, but, like, it's much more than that. It makes sense, but, there's something wrong with having a sort of common culture, a culture that the nation is common to have. Our common culture is generally like freedom, liberty, pursuit of happiness, the Enlightenment, and God we trust, you know, Christianity, but again, it's just, also diversity is a common culture within America, which means we have multiple common cultures, in a sense of a way. If I said that right, but hopefully you guys understand what I'm trying to say, is that we do have a common culture. It is diverse, and it is diversity. That is kind of America's common culture in a way. We might not have been like that from the beginning, but generally we are today. So, again, I don't think our common culture is Anglo-Saxon, England, like, no. It's more than that. Is it part of it? Maybe. We did kind of come from England, so it is kind of, but not part of it. Not a little bit of it.
For examples,
But it's,
that's our common culture, and I think the framers recognize that. And diversity is fine, but diversity does not make a nation.
that is true, but one culture doesn't necessarily make a nation. That means, I mean, it does, you just have that ethno-state, which Michael Knowles kind of wants. So, like,
Diversity does not make a nation. Unity makes a nation. I'm not saying that
but you hate unity. You hate that, Mike. What?
one particular type of people, Scalia makes this point. I could make the very same point. We look a little swarthy, don't we, for the Anglo-Saxon people? And
No, I mean, you have a skinny guy, you got a strong guy, you got a intellectual guy, you guys are all still kind of fascistic, but like, yeah, sir. Like, yeah, sure.
this political tradition that we have is Anglo-Saxon. That's just the way that it is. And people now are quibbling over all these sorts of little terms, and they're saying that this is a pagan reference. I actually heard someone say that it was the Anglo-Saxons refer to pagans, and
I don't know about that.
would firmly disagree with you. I think he was the king of the Anglo-Saxons, converted to Christianity in the year 601, 400 years.
Sure, but I had, like, yeah, like,
100 years before the Norman Conquest. It's all, I think,
Christian isn't pagan, but like, yeah, sure, the founder of Anglo-Saxon way turned to be Christian. He might have died and went to heaven, but I bet he was like, God, I'm sorry. I don't know. I don't know his last breath. I don't know. But I think he had to do something. Let's say
Disingenuous stuff. It's all disingenuous stuff. To deny the real political tradition in this country, which really does come from a specific place, England. And we want to pretend that it doesn't, and we want to pretend that, oh, it's
well, I guess I don't really think it does. Like, let's be real here.
universal, and it's all just an idea floating in outer space. And
any country is an idea. I mean, like, every country started as an idea, which I think we'll get into a little bit more later
it
on.
could just as easily have come from the Timbuktu political tradition as it did from the United Kingdom, and that just simply is not true. Moreover, we have an America First caucus here, which is explicitly not a racial identitarian group.
It is. Anglo-Saxon. Wait, what? It is. Wait, what?
Accused of being a racial identitarian group. The
But it
congressmen
is.
who are pushing it, Paul Gosar or some of the other people. But we do have racial identitarian congressional caucuses. We have the Congressional Black Caucus. Congressional Black Caucus, exclusively racial, supports leftist policies, totally okay. Congressional Hispanic Caucus, exclusively racial, supports leftist policies, okay. America First Caucus, racially inclusive, likes the actual American political...
Actually likes the American traditional... What are you doing? It's propaganda. Like, come on. No, we have a whites-only caucus. The Anglo-Saxon whites-only fascists. Like, that would be actually more accurate than the real conservative, real Americans. Like, no. We have a black caucus, Hispanic caucus, white caucus. Like, come on, don't romanticize on something that's not true. Which is
and hates ugly architecture, bigoted racist.
Hates black architecture. Like, let's be real. Come on. Like, oh boy.
I just can't even take it anymore.
I can't take
it.
Heck, I can't take you by.
I
gotta do what I gotta do.
Offense against human dignity. That's it.
Against human dignity.
So if I know that, then I don't need to worry about some disingenuous leftists calling me a racist.
Or a fascist calling you a hero, right? I don't know.
It just doesn't bother me.
And you are racist.
So many Republican leaders, it's like this magical incantation. The minute you even suggest the minute they'll run, they'll say, I'll give you whatever you want, please. I'm Kevin McCarthy, please, I'll disavow the entire American political tradition. Total.
I think he's like, listen, I did bad things, okay, but I'm gonna be a decent human being here. I know I did some things to Marcy terribly. I know I didn't really, do good, but, like, I'm still human. Which he is. Everybody's still human. But, like, you know, anybody can come to Christ.
It's pathetic. Antonin Scalia is a far-right, fascist, nativist.
Scalia? No, he's just a kind of dumb person.
I have to get to the Kevin McCarthy now. He says, quote, the Republican Party is the party of Lincoln and the party of more opportunity for all Americans, not nativist dogmatism.
That should be true. It's not really true, but I mean, always Kevin McCarthy is, I guess, consistent in a sense of way. He's not gonna go full on fascist here, like, you know.
What does nativist mean? We hear that term a lot. What does nativist mean?
Well, what is it?
It means that you have I suppose, an inclination or a preference, or you have the interests of the people born in this country.
Okay, one definition is relating or relating to or supporting the policy of protecting the interests of native, foreign, or established inhabitants against those of immigrants. Oh, this has a lot. Okay. Ur-Fascism is the political policy of promoting the interests of native inhabitants against those of immigrants, including the support of immigration restriction measures in studies. Nativism is a standard technical term, although those who hold this political view do not typically accept the label. Interesting. So pretty much is people who are for their native foreign people and are maybe against immigrants. That's what it seems to actually be. And anyways.
You have I suppose, an inclination or a preference, or you have the interests of the people born in this country beyond, or over the people who are not born in this country who want to come in. Because nativist, I get, it's not a racial thing, right? We have people of all sorts of races in America who are born here.
Yeah, but like we're pretty much saying America good, everything else trash. Or what Trump said, I'm not quoting, but I think he said to Africa, crud hole. Yeah, he said the S word hole. I think a lot of people remember that one. He said it was a crud hole country. Again, I'm paraphrasing it in language, sorry about that, but anyways.
It means that you think maybe we should reduce immigration. It means
no, it's having the interest of native-born people against those of immigrants, pretty much. As in, you might be anti-immigration, which could be racist and or fascistic.
I think we should not have a totally open border. It means maybe you think that if you take 2 million foreigners in every single year, way more than anywhere else in the world, way more than most Americans want. Polls show that the majority of Americans want to dramatically reduce not just illegal immigration, but legal immigration.
Which I don't know if that's true or not. He might have recent polls, but I don't think so.
Think that.
Mike is not a person for recent stuff. He's not a recent person.
The majority of Americans of all races and different political stripes, then you're a nativist, according not to some radical leftists, according to Kevin McCarthy, the leader of the Republican.
A pretty reasonable Republican, still Republican, but at least reasonable, kind of.
Republicans like this, who needs Democrats? Who needs Democrats?
He's got a point. I mean, if you have a Republican that's reasonable, that's a little bit more humane, you know, who needs Democrats? You got a point, but Democrats are kind of for a lot of things with abortion, especially one that I said about how, if I'm correct, again, I need to look up more about this, but every Democrat was against a bill pretty much to say if the abortion didn't work out and the baby was still alive, that baby should be protected. But the Democrats didn't want to do that because, if I'm correct, if abortion didn't actually go well, the baby still survived, they just left it. They just left it to die. Ignoring the crying, keep it, I think, in like a dark room or something like that, just let it die, because babies need attention when they're a baby, obviously. And that's disturbing, and it seemed like Democrats were against a bill to restrict that from happening. But again, that was maybe, I don't remember, maybe somewhere near the early 2000s or early 2010s. I think Democrats have done a little bit better when it comes to life. They actually kind of care a little bit more. But yeah, again, who needs a Democrat? You got a little bit of a point there. who's a Democrat when you got people like Ken McCarthy? I don't know.
Absolutely pathetic.
I mean, I could say, yeah, I really want to say you're pathetic, but that wouldn't be professional. I'm not gonna do that. I'm not gonna keep doing that. I'm not gonna do that. But I'm gonna say, like, I mean, is Kevin McCarthy pathetic? I mean, yeah, some things that he does is wrong. Like, patting the shoulder of Marcy Terra Green, being like, hey, don't be that hideous person, okay? And, like, I think gives her the position of the Department of Education. I forgot. I need to look up more about that. But, yeah, I forgot that was true, and I'm like, what? But again, Kevin McCarthy is still kind of reasonable when it comes to some things, and Michael Knowles, he really isn't. He really isn't.
Gotta stop letting the left dictate the terms of this conversation. There is nothing wrong with advocating a lower level of immigration. As Antonin Scalia says,
but why? Why wouldn't you want more? I think, again, it is true from, I think both economists, both left and right, would say more immigration would mean a better economy. I'm correct, that is true.
very well. Diversity is a fine thing, but it does not make a nation.
It makes part of a nation, because I think nations should be diverse, but again, we do have ethno-states, which are states of a particular ethnicity, like China and other places that are pretty much ethno-state, which America shouldn't be, but I think Mexico might want it to be. Like, diversity does help the nation become a better nation, or just a nation in general.
Unity makes a nation. And if you want to bring other people in,
But you don't want to do that, Mike. You don't want to do that. But anyway.
that's fine. Nations have immigration. Generally, Western nations have way more immigration than non-Western nations. And America has the most immigration of all. Fine, you want to bring some people in, that's great. But if you can't assimilate, then immigration is weakening your nation. And that's that. That's all there is.
How is it weakening our nation? Like, this, literally, I don't have to say anything. He's saying it for me, guys. Like, I'm not even... How does it? Because they're foreign people who he doesn't like. Because, I don't know, Daddy Trump said so.
It's to it. What is that common bond? It's what Scalia and all those guys were debating. The common thread that holds America together is that, well, it's not a people, it's not a, is it a faith, is it a language?
It's an idea. It's an experiment that's still going on. Because I think correct, America is the only country that has a Democrat and Republic like system with a pretty good balance, sort of. So again, that is what America is. As when it comes to, I guess, the country of the people, that's subjective.
I mean, basically, we don't even speak the same language. We have nothing holding us together when we're not a nation. Now we're not even allowed to acknowledge our actual political tradition. They are denying it.
Because it kind of isn't.
The actual history of the United States, and of England for that matter. Bad situation.
Wait, I thought you didn't like England, or parts of England. Oh, sorry, a young English gentleman of a prince who you don't like because he's... Okay.
Crisis, you might call it. Even Joe Biden might call it a crisis. Joe Biden has assiduously avoided speaking to reporters really at all, but specifically on this issue of immigration, he's avoided the word crisis. He's now slipped. Freudian slip for Uncle Joe is when he accidentally says what he means. Joe referred to the crisis at the southern border.
Well, it depends what you mean by a crisis. Is it a crisis? Technically speaking, yes. Sadly, children are coming to the border by themselves in some cases because of bad situations with their country. It is kind of a crisis, but it's not people from other countries are coming in. It's a crisis. Non-white people, like, no, but that's Michael Knowles' thinking, pretty much. Like, let's be real, that's Michael Knowles' thinking, or the non-American. They're after our jobs. They're after the children. No, they're not. Like, most of them either A, are trying to get a better job or a better economy, or sadly, B, they're trying to run away from bad situations from other countries. That's why America should have not been so isolated for the 4 years that we have. We were so isolated, we couldn't help the countries that needed our help. Now we are kind of slowly coming back to the other nations saying, hey, we can help you, we can, and we should. Not just for a political game, but out of our hearts. Again, we need to pray for that.
As long as, kind of hard to hear with that mask. There it is, though, crisis.
Oh yeah.
Working on that crisis.
Mike
That's
hates
probably why
masks.
Joe loves the mask so much, is so that people
Yep.
can't hear all of the nonsense these guys. I heard crisis, sorry. Sorry, Buster. Of course it's a
Oh no, we gotta...
Nobody thinks that's a good thing. Bad for America. Frankly, it's bad for the people who are trying to pour over here. It's totally lawless. It's anti-democratic. You're violating the laws that were democratically elected. It's wrong. Wrong to do that sort of thing. But if you say...
But maybe we should try to fix it, maybe help those countries in need, but no, that'll be, what is it? Multinationalist corporate, I don't know, like, something like
for
that.
nativists.
Like,
terrible?
that's a lot of conservatives at the end of the day. They say, we should stop this, but you're not actually going to recognize why there's a problem and how we should stop it. You just want to say, it's bad. But when we say the problem, you're like, that's also bad. I'm like, wouldn't you want to fix that? Bad. Okay. Sure, okay.
Be a nativist? These words that people just use, that they throw around.
I know, yeah, I know it's hard for you to understand words because words change and you hate change. Change's bad for you, Mike, so it's hard for you. I get it, but you need Jesus. Like, we all need Jesus, but let's be
I
real.
don't think really have much meaning at all anymore. And yet we live...
Words do have meaning, but some of them are made up, but within those words there are criterias of those words. When God says stuff that's good, that label good means it's, in this case, like God saw the light and it was good. God called that good because the labels of good are, in some cases, like perfect, a positive, a net gain positive, something that's great, something that is needed, something that is helped. Good, generally. But there are negative goods. Like, sadly, some Nazis thought it was good for them to do the horrible acts of the Holocaust. It wasn't good. That wasn't morally good, but for them it was good. So words do have labels, and words do matter, but words are made up in some cases, or they are socially constructed, or godly constructed, or godly structured, in a sense of the way, because God called the light good. What is good? What did God meant by good? And we know what he means by good if we study our word.
in such fear of them. We're a country that lives in neurotic fear. That's why we're all wearing these stupid masks, even...
Yes, the stupid mask. Okay, he really is anti-mask. He hates mask. He hates to protect people. He really does, in this case.
Later, more than a year after 15 days to slow the spread, after we flatten the curve, after...
I know there's something called change in through time, but again, Mike, again, he doesn't understand change. It's hard for him to understand. It rolls from one ear to the other. It just like, hey Mike, do you know there's a change coming within the situation? Change bad. No, old good. Or whatever. I got it. I'm not trying to mock him that much because again, I don't want to do that. I'm not mocking like person, but like that is kind of what he's saying. Like,
he found a cure after most people have gotten the vaccine. Virtually everyone has access to it. Ron DeSantis made this point the other day in Florida. He was not wearing a mask. His staffers around him were not wearing a mask. He was asked about the lockdown.
Truly, quote-unquote, patriotic.
Mask. He had a great answer. If you get immunized, you ought to act immunized.
My view is you know, if you get a vaccine, the vaccines are effective, you're immune. And so act immune.
You're not immune. And if you are, you should still try to protect others and yourselves by wearing a mask. Like, why is it so hard to protect others and yourself? A personal responsibility. Wasn't that the conservative way? Personal responsibility. Protecting others while you protect yourselves. By wearing masks. If when I get the vaccine, hopefully it's soon in Jesus' name, amen, that I'm still going to be wearing a mask if I have to. Because I know maybe people around me might not have it. So I'm going to act good. I am immune, but I'm going to act like a good person and still wear the mask. Till we have enough people to where we can, I mean, yeah, we do. In some states we can take the mask off in some areas, but we still have a virus. We still have an illness that is the corona. COVID-19. So I'm gonna do the right thing and still wear a mask in some areas. Because I know the vaccine is not given to everybody right now.
If you tell people the opposite, then gee, you know,
It's not telling the opposite. It's like, hey, I'm vaccinated, but I'm still gonna wear a mask because I know in this state that I'm in, people aren't really taking the vaccine right now. So I'm gonna be a good, like, that's just a good thing to do. Why are you against this?
why, if it's not effective for them and it's not going to change anything, then what's the point of going?
It is effective. You're just being a good person because the state that you might be, you might not have that good rate of people getting the vaccine. Yeah, it might be weird, like, you have the vaccine, why are you still wearing a mask? I'll tell them because there are some people here who don't have it. I'm just going to protect others and myself. What is the issue?
Doesn't make much sense, does it?
Well,
No,
that does.
Ron DeSantis, you've got to give this guy credit. He has opened
No, I'm not. It's Ron DeSantis. Come on. Like, come on.
for
He's like the
what, a year
Florida
now or
version of
something?
Donald Trump.
Opened it up basically before anybody else and stuck to his guns on this, and the state's done very well. It's done a lot better than California.
Good.
Though DeSantis was not the first Republican
Florida
leader to
is
make
not
this point.
California.
Actually, Senator Cruz, just 2 or 3 weeks ago, he did not wear a mask for this press conference. A lot of people around him were wearing those masks. A lot of Republicans around him were wearing those masks.
Well, all Republicans are doing, they're being good people.
You need to wear your mask. And he said, I don't think so. I took the shot.
Yeah, when I'm talking to the TV camera, I'm not going to wear a mask, and all of us...
I mean, yeah. I mean, when you're talking, depending on the situation, you don't necessarily need to wear a mask. I mean, that's true, but, like, it's tech, like, it's tech, like, it's tech proof.
So, you're welcome to step away if you like. The whole point of a vaccine, CDC guidance, is what we're following.
Yeah, you're...
True, but, when you're stopped talking, it might be good to wear a mask. Because you might not necessarily know. It's being courteous. But again, it depends on where you are. Because in some cases, you don't need to wear a mask. Maybe not at all. It depends. If you do the right thing.
welcome to step away if you want, but I've been immunized, and so I'm not going to wear that dumb mask. And now Senator Cruz is just isn't wearing it anywhere on Capitol Hill, and I think that's absolutely terrific. Where are the rest of the Republican leaders on this?
Maybe they're like, my state, they still need a melee.
I don't get why the GOP would spend its time sniping right and calling anybody who wants to reduce immigration and have beautiful architecture and acknowledge our political position, call them
pretty much anti-immigrant, anti-non-Western culture paintings, and something else that's bad. Yeah, I'm good there. Good job, some Republicans. Sorry, the minority of Republicans are reasonable.
Nativists insinuate that they're bigots when you've got the left running roughshod over our political tradition, over...
No, I mean, they're not really, some of them were abolitionists, as in gender abolitionists or something like that,
So we're way
it's a
right.
minority.
It's the wheat from the chaff. You got guys like Cruz, you got guys like DeSantis, who stand firm.
Who are bad, I wouldn't say fascist, but very right-wing and just not really caring about people's lives sometimes.
Got
Can
people
you-
like Kevin McCarthy. I hope that guy...
And then you got reasonable people like Kevin McCarthy sometimes. Hey, if that's their, if Kevin McCarthy is their best, if that's their fucking party sending their best, good. Just get better Republicans. Like,
Real
what's more
fast.
reasonable?
Because it's pathetic. And he, in the last squish battle, you had Kevin McCarthy.
Squish battle. I love that.
Cheney, who's probably the worst of the worst in the House of Representatives. And Kevin McCarthy took the more conservative position, defended President Trump, didn't snipe right over the against Liz Cheney. But now McCarthy seems to be running away. Don't do it, man. It's not too...
No, do it. Keep being reasonable, McCarthy, please. You gotta, you might be the last hope for the Republican Party here.
Come on, you can grab
You're
your
there,
spine
Liz
and
Cheney.
stand with the conservatives.
The
Not,
conservatives. I love
I'm not saying we've got to cast Kevin McCarthy into outer darkness, but just... Come on, we talk a lot about various...
I know,
community assignments.
like you put Marjorie Taylor Greene into a position where she should never be. Like, step up, McCarthy. Like, do better. Be more reasonable. Make Michael Knowles so angry, please.
Here and affixing different appendages. Do it. That would be one good use of those sort of surgeries. The public health dictatorship is not going...
Dictatorship.
It's not... Dr. Fauci is totally honest about this. Yeah, I rarely would say Dr. Fauci is honest, but he is being honest at least about his
Yes.
desire to maintain power. Dr. Fauci goes on TV, people are getting the vaccine, have access to the vaccine, and he's asked, how long do we have to keep the masks on? And he says, well, yeah, just a little while.
Why does a vaccinated person have to wear a mask?
Okay, this is something that as we get more information, it's going to be pulling back the 2.5.
Remember, as we get more information, it's going to push back. Remember that. Fauci is kind of being science, business related. He's one of the head science people. This is what science is, and this is what most people do in general when it comes to something like this. Coronavirus.
But currently the reason is...
But currently, the reason is, he's going to give us the reason.
You get vaccinated, you are clearly diminishing dramatically your risk of getting infected. That's one of the things you got to make sure everybody understands. You dramatically diminish it. However, what happens is that you might get infected and get absolutely no symptoms, not know you're infected, and then inadvertently go into a situation with vulnerable people. And if you don't have a mask, you might inadvertently infect them. That's
True, like...
the risk of that, but it's there. There's a small...
And, Michael was going to be like, egghead bad, or something like that.
Yeah, but it could happen, and so wear the mask, sheep. That's just what he keeps coming back to. He is making it as clear as a dishonest, disingenuous bureaucrat can make it. But they're
Trump.
just not going to let up. They're just going to impose their whims on you.
No, they're not being terrorists. They're just... Well, I know he didn't say terrorists. So, like, they're not trying to be a dictator, or, I don't know. They're trying to be 3 steps ahead of you, because experts in this field, especially a virus pandemic field, they have to be 3 steps before anybody and everybody else. They gotta be 3 steps ahead.
Forever. And
Like-
forever, because the principle that we have granted to Dr. Fauci and the other high priests of progressivism,
The high priest of progressivism. Again, progressivism is not a religion. Michael Knowles has a weird thing, weird trait of being like the religion of BLM or whatever. Like, these aren't religions, these are ideas. There's a difference, Mike. Please, stop.
and the cassock of the lab coat, is that, look, our constitutional liberties, our American political tradition, that's
Oh, for sure.
good until a cough breaks out, and then all of a sudden we have to give all of our power to Fauci.
We're not. We're just being cautious because of the pandemic.
Even when Fauci says, okay, you can let up a little bit on the masks, we're still acknowledging that he has the power to impose whatever rules.
And he doesn't technically have the power in a sense of a way. I mean, he might have the authority, but it's not like he has all this power. No, he has the authority to be the spokesman of, like, the CDC, maybe even science itself, you know. I think he's doing a pretty good job. He did mess up sometimes, but, like, as a lot of people, as we get more updates on things, it's like, okay, this is what this is now. Like, that's his job.
Because he in his wisdom recognizes that the most important thing in life is not getting the cough. That is
Yes, that's what the coronavirus is. It's just a cough. Quote unquote.
Dr. Fauci says, even if you've been vaccinated, you've got to keep your mask on because
You gotta protect others and yourselves. Again, if you want to do more, because that was a lot of time. We gotta maybe at least 2. I don't want to do 2 hours here. I'm gonna try not to. It might be almost 2 hours. I'm sorry about that, but that's not my main goal here.
who says leftists and squishes use the term dog whistle, yet they are the only ones who can hear it. What does that tell you? I have made this point on a number of occasions. I'm glad that you've picked up on this too. The left is incessantly talking about dog whistles, and yet they are the only ones to hear them. What does that mean? That, of course, means that they are the dogs. And they are, because we don't hear them. It's not as though conservatives are feigning ignorance and saying, I have no idea what you're talking about. We really have no idea what we're talking about. We don't.
Sure, but the comments of that is this. The reason why it seems like the left only hears the dog whistling is because the conservatives and Republicans are playing, I guess, the dog whistle. They're doing the dog whistle, and the left is hearing it. Sometimes it's the other way around. If somebody is hearing the whistle, then they're not doing it. Basic logic, Mike. Really basic logic. If I hear a whistle, I'm not doing it. I'm hearing it. And if it's a whistle that I don't like, I'm gonna talk about it. If other people who do agree with the whistle are hearing about it, and they do agree about it, and like, yeah. Plus you have a whistleblower as well. Like, I'm not the one who's playing the whistle, but I'm hearing it to where I'm like, Anglo-Saxon tradition. That sounds like fascism. I gotta come against this, you know? So, yeah, that's why I feel like me and the left might hear the dog whistle and try to not let whatever they're trying to do happen.
Hear these things because the left is constantly changing the definitions of words to have all of these new.
I'm sorry, words change, get over it. But we should have a good foundation on words and their labels, but they do change over time. Like the word gay, or the A word. The A word used to mean for donkey, now it's something else. That's why most people, when they when they see the A word in the Bible, they know it's not referring to what it is today as maybe a derogatory term for butts, or a curse word for the buttocks, pretty much. We see that as donkey because that's what people used to say back then, the A word, as donkey. Some people say it, other people are like, I'm gonna say donkey. I'm like, hey, oh, donkey, not that, no. You know, and it's hard, because the A word referring to donkey in the Bible is like quoted, most likely say 15, maybe 50 times, so it's like, you just gotta remember donkey, you know. That's for many people, but sadly Michael Knowles doesn't want to take time to do that, because he hates change and words.
That we simply are not aware of. This is part of their process of constantly transforming the language to try to transform reality, which is, by the way, this is the week. This is the George Floyd trial week when the whole...
Nope, and also, no ads here. No ads here, folks. Well, yeah, if you guys remember, I kind of predicted, as I heard the announcement that Derek Chauvin was guilty, that conservatives would do three things. One, say that the system is not rigged because of this. Two, the jury was pressured due to political pressure, and three, it was rigged, or something like that. And I said, like I was talking about with the conservatives doing the three things of excuses of Derek Chauvin being guilty, it seems that Michael Knowles is doing the first one as well as the other two one. At the end of the day, of course, Michael Knowles is for Derek Chauvin, and that's obvious now, because he's against the people who are against Chauvin. Literally, conservatives are trying to be team chauvinist in such a way. When we know that now we can say legally that he was and is, technically speaking, a murderer. They didn't want that, because there was meth or fentanyl in the system or other excuses, but no. George Floyd was killed, and he was murdered by Derek Chauvin, and we can now, if I'm correct, now we can legally say that. His sentencing is like, I think this month, somewhere near this month, but he is...
Oh, what are they going to do? I don't know. They're probably going to encourage the riots. Maxine Waters has gone viral because of that clip that was going around yesterday where she said, we need to get more aggressive. We need to get more confrontational. More confrontational than burning down multiple cities. What's more confrontational than that?
At least she didn't say trial by combat, but still, like, anyways.
But this is not new for Maxine Waters. Maxine Waters has been doing this for decades. Maxine Waters did this during the Rodney King riots back in the early 90s.
As I stand here, 9 people are dead. My last count this morning, before I tried to get some sleep, was over 50-something fires raging all over Los Angeles. The fire started in my district, and one of the largest was right around the corner from my house. There are scores of injuries, and still anger and frustration, and people who plan on staying on the streets and expressing their outrage and anger in any way they deem necessary. There are those who would like for me and others and all of us to tell people to go inside, to be peaceful, that they have to accept the verdict. I accept the responsibility of asking people not to endanger their lives. I am not asking people not to be angry. I am angry, and I have a right to that anger, and the people out there have a right to that anger.
Max?
I don't think that was really anything bad. I think she had a point. But anyways, let's see what Michael knows.
Does not have a right to any anger. She does not. Maxine Waters does not. What Maxine Waters is doing is provoking riots, and what she's...
Sure, but yeah, the person who he liked, I guess accidentally, that's the least thing I can give to you guys, conservatives out there. He accidentally incited insurrection. I'm so sorry. Insurrection. I've been talking so much. I'm so sorry. I'm not that much of a talker, being honest, but yeah. Sorry about that. Insurrection. I have a comment with that. Coco Michael Knowles. Maxine Waters doesn't have the right to read. She doesn't have the right, Frank. Me. Well, then, Michael Knowles, or aka MK. Sorry, MK, aka Michael Knowles. You don't have the right to be angry when trans kids are getting medical care. You don't need to be angry. And you don't need to be angry when people are coming to the border. I mean, we can play the hypocrite game if you want. Like if you can't be angry with the Rotten King, then you don't have to be angry with trans kids getting their medical care. Like you don't have to be angry when people are trying to go to the border. Like I could say the same thing. Like totally speaking, based on your logic. In a sensible way,
I just never want to hear about a right-wing insurrection again. I never want.
Of course you don't. Of course you
don't want to hear about January 6th and Capitol Hill and the greatest, worst insurrection in U.S. history. I don't want to hear about it. As long as Maxine Waters faces 0 consequences, which is exactly what's going to happen, then I just don't want to hear about it. These things are not comparable. What BLM and Antifa did to the country in 2020 was...
You mean mostly peaceful protests, but then some agitators came in and burned down a lot of businesses, which is bad.
Nothing to do with the Weaver just not comparable to the guy with the crazy horns jumping on the table in the Capitol building, okay?
Yeah, just a guy with a horn dancing in the Capitol. There was, again... There weren't any injuries or anything. Nobody was trying to kill a vice president, trying to lynch him, saying hang like Pence. There was no news, you know. They weren't trying to kidnap or even kill some of the elected officials of Congress. They weren't trying to overthrow anything, They weren't calling people traitors or anything, Just a guy with a horn dancing in the Capitol. Yeah, no, it was an insurrection. But again, I have a comment with that. I got a comment here. Right here. Of course you don't want to hear about what happened on January 6th insurrections because you're for it. Being honest, I won't say he was for it, he was cheering it on, but you're never going to say it because you're a coward. I mean, he believed that the election was stolen. He might believe that conservatives should fight back via protest, maybe not by violence, but still, you guys both believe in the lie. And I said, what happened in the summer is kind of bad, and the insurrection's bad. But again, there's a higher consequence. Not consequentialist, but there is some higher consequence between businesses and the government that let those businesses be there in the first place. Nobody really is talking about that, really. Well, the right isn't talking about that.
What were we told about the Capitol? What was the worst thing that happened at the Capitol riot? What was basic?
Police officers were injured. Somebody was potentially trying to get Mike Pence. Let's see. Threats, breaking Capitol property. A lot of things, Mike. A lot of things that you want to ignore.
The entire premise of the second falsifiable impeachment of Donald Trump. The death of all.
I mean, the second reasonable impeachment. The first one. I need to look at more about the first, but the second one made more sense. But I don't think you can appease a president that's not really president. I mean, just take Trump to court if you can. He's a citizen now. But again, there's things that it's not that easy to do.
It's for sickening. Right? That was the one thing they said, yeah, okay, they messed up Nancy Pelosi's office, that's bad, but we're not going to impeach a guy over that. And yeah, the guy in the horns jumped on the...
Yeah, no, you know, there were many police officers screaming for their lives. You know, we don't have footage of people trying to beat up police officers or anything. No. But that did actually happen, guys. But again, Michael Knowles seems to be cowardice. Why is he not talking about this?
He's surprising over that.
Because
but the thing we can get him on, even though
because either one, he agrees with what happened, and or two, he's deceived by Ben Shapiro or whatever. Not conspiracy theory here. I'm just saying because they do work together, and Ben is the leader. So, but I think they are independent of one another. So you know.
Be peaceful. The thing we can get him on is that Officer Brian Sicknick, Capitol Hill police officer, was killed during those riots and killed by right-wing insurrectionists, and it turns out that story was just completely false.
And I like how most conservatives are like, we have papers, that makes it legal or whatever, like, we got it. Like, I don't know, I love how they do it. Like, we got the papers here, guys. We got the we got the affidavits. Like, yeah, sure, you got paper. Like,
you take my word for it. You don't even need to take the Daily Wire's word
great
for it.
meme.
The Washington Post is now finally admitting that. What we all suspected the whole time. It was so weird.
We all suspected that somehow the insurrectionists were not violent. Somehow. I think that was the right. They are idiots sometimes, so
He came out with a cause of death for Officer Sicknick. Officer Sicknick obviously died. The question was, did he die because of the violence of that day? Turns out, nope. No. Completely unrelated. Even the WAPO headline, Capitol Police Officer Brian Sicknick, who engaged rioters, suffered 2 strokes and died of natural causes, officials say. Thanks for admitting...
but, like, that doesn't mean what he went through in insurrection didn't, you know, like, oh, that means nobody was really hurt, like, you know, Brian Sicknick, you know. He still needs to face physical stuff in the riots. But, yeah, sure, he wasn't killed by them, but, like, he still defended democracy against them, like, this doesn't really prove anything. I mean, it proves that Sicknick didn't die from the insurrectionists, but, like, he still defended his country. We should still honor him for that.
That it doesn't matter now that you've gotten every single political advantage you can possibly get out of that lie. Now they admit the truth and they move on.
Like voter fraud, you had, just replace that with voter fraud. It makes more sense.
Everybody, just return to your homes. It's good to have wings on the cultural level, or the business, corporate level. We need wins at the government level, too. So here's half a good news story. You want half a good news story? It's from Arizona Governor Doug Ducey.
Half a good news story is maybe half a bad. Which I'm going to talk about.
He is now prohibiting the vaccine passports at the government level. Ducey is banning this new proposal, and he's preventing state and local governments from requiring residents to provide the COVID vaccine status to receive service or to enter an area. This is at the government level. But that doesn't go far enough. It needs to go further. We've talked about this from the beginning. We said there's going to be 3 different positions. One is going to be no vaccine passports at the government level. One is going to be no vaccine passports at the government or private business level. And then obviously the third position is we need vaccine passports wherever.
Well, I have a comment about that I think might make a little bit more sense, but I just want to go back a little bit about the summer and Capitol riots. I did this. Don't you know there's a difference between businesses and the U.S. Capitol? Yes, they're both are bad. If you try to destroy them, but one has a higher consequence than another. I'm not a consequentialist, but again, both of them are bad. You're destroying property that you don't need to destroy. But at the end of the day, one is worse than the other. in a sensible way. And with what he's saying now with passports is, being honest, you've got the leftist position. Is I think we need vaccine passports. It's not everywhere at any time, and those who disagree should be in jail. That's the radical, I should say radical, extreme leftist position maybe. The right-wing position is no passports, but yet we need to secure our voting. Yes, we are being hypocrites. That is kind of true. Like, so if you're against passports, something that can confirm something about you, but yet, like, you don't want that, but yet you want that for voting, which are both important. You're kind of being a hypocrite. Like, we don't need passports, but yet we need stronger voting. Okay. The liberal position is, I think you might need some suggestions, but not mandated. Conservative position is, I think, it might need the, at the least, at the state level, but definitely not government level. Michael Knowles is just engaging in lies. He wants to engage in more lies, which he does. He's against masks. He's kind of against vaccines. Like, he's against the science of the pandemic, which is good. Like, generally.
And the libertarian position kind of is up in the air. It's not really clear which one the libertarians will go for. A little incoherent, but you could see a world in which the libertarian position is, and the squish position is, no vaccine passports at the government level. Private businesses can do whatever they want. If they want to include one, that's fine. If they don't want to include one, that's also fine. The conservative position is no. It's just, it upends our political order. It upends our traditions.
It upends our political order. How is clarification that you've taken the vaccine bad? How is that bad? How's that coming against our freedoms? How? Please tell me how. I'd love to know. I don't think it is. It's not doing that. This is the longest I've recorded, by the way, being honest. I just noticed that.
Like, no vaccine passports anywhere, and then obviously the leftist position, they love the passports. Ron DeSantis then came out, and he did it a little bit slowly, but then he came out and he said, okay, Florida, we're not going to have vaccine passports, even at private businesses, we're not going to do it. We need more people to step up. 27 Republican governors here. I'm glad to see, 4 or 5 have come out and said no vaccine passports at the state level. That's fine. We need to go further. We need to go further.
Of course, you need to go more further right. I mean, how further right have you gone? Kind of fascistic is not fascist. This person wants to go even further right, guys. Like, what?
Let them give you a half
This one goes even further beyond.
Should not be permitted to require these either. Florida's doing a lot. Florida's really leading the country in many ways on this sort of.
How is it leading the country? It's leading the Republican Party, like, not the country, but at least the Republican Party.
Not just on COVID, but on the riots.
Which could be a
riots are they're the real vaccine. Riots are the real.
Even though if you actually look at the mostly peaceful protests, you see a lot of them had masks. Yeah, that was true. So, debunked. So, like, look it up, guys. Footage. Like,
we all have to stay locked in. If we do so much as go outside, we're going to catch the virus with a 100% chance of death.
I mean, like, if you have a cause that's good, like, do what you need to do, guidelines, but you can still protest.
Except if you are burning down Minneapolis.
Yes, because that was happening. BLM was burning down Minneapolis, even though it wasn't. I mean, things did burn down. Nobody's disputing that, but like, I don't think it was most of BLM. I think it was agitators who sadly took advantage. That and people who sadly were just up to a bullying point. They sadly were like, screw it. You know, but that's why we need to pray. And do stuff if we can as people, as Christians, as the body of Christ. And we gotta do things.
And that is actually there's a shield that's gonna go around you. And
yes, a shield of mask. because most of them were wearing masks.
COVID, so it's cool. Especially if you want like a booster, you have to bust into a Nike store and steal some sneakers.
Yeah, that's a booster. I don't think Lil Ness likes that either. God, I had it. I think I ruined it. I had it.
That's kind of like, that's like the second shot. You get the sneakers, there's no way you can get COVID, right? So,
yes, because that's was, okay, sure.
More riots. Minneapolis totally boarded up. Other places in the country are preparing. How's Florida preparing? They're preparing by beefing up laws and figuring out ways to throw rioters in prison for longer. Florida Senate has approved a bill that was championed by Governor DeSantis. It's an anti-riot law.
Anti-riot.
Permits citizens to sue a local government if that government does not stop a riot. It defines a riot as a violent public clear more people.
How do you... Okay. You know, riots hasn't stopped when you try to crack them down. Sometimes riots are just happening. Like, there's just so many things.
Common intent resulting in injury to others, damage to property, or the imminent danger of...
Well, we can at least say the insurrection is also a riot, I guess you can say.
Or damage. This law also would grant civil legal immunity to people who would drive through protesters and rioters who are blocking a road. That's a good provision. I like that. That's good for law and order. It's good for a stable society. It's good for everybody's right. This law would prevent people who are arrested for rioting or offenses committed during a riot from getting bailed out of jail until their first court appearance. Love that a lot. Throw them in jail. Throw away that key, at least until their court appearance. And this would impose a sentence for battery on a police officer during a riot. Love that. But the lecture,
of course. But here's the problem I noticed. My comment is, quote unquote, Michael Knowles. All the rioters and looters, lock them up. Doesn't matter why they're rioting or looting, just lock them up. Throw away the key. Until their court date. Me. Yeah, I think some, if not a lot of rioters and looters should be in jail, but not throw away the key. And also try to understand why they did that. And try to help stop the rioting and looting. And try to help people not to riot or loot. Like in conservatives, they just want to say the problem, but don't actually want to have a solution. Or their solution is throw away the key or put them in prison. Let's not talk about why they're doing it. Just like, yeah, there should be punishment, but there should be reason. Like, there's a reason why they're doing this. There's a reason why they're doing this. But it's MK. Come on, it's
that too, right? Because they pretend that they're all for law and order now after the great...
But Michael Knowles doesn't have to do this. He can be born again.
Through January 6th. Right? So, love this law. Think it's absolutely phenomenal.
Not really recognizing the problem, just maybe making it worse, because when you try to crack down a riot, it never works. Look at history. If you try to make riots illegal, it's not really going to fix. It's like stealing still happens, but why people are stealing? We know it's a problem. We know people should be punished for it, but we should also know why they're stealing it. What led up to that? That's why in every school shooting, usually I watch NBC and I usually watch the whole. They usually say there's a motive or police haven't found a motive, because most people don't do mass shootings. Sometimes there is a motive there.
Not a clampdown on people's freedom. That's what the left is going to say. You're taking away our freedom of expression and our freedom of speech. This is an of freedom of speech.
Same thing with COVID. Same thing with vaccine passports. That's freedom. That's showing who's taking it and who needs to take it. How is that against our First Amendment rights? Like you can turn it around and turn it around.
Because rioting is not speech. That's not protected by the First Amendment.
Yeah, and not wearing a mask is not really expression. It's just stupid, depending on the state you're in.
You have the right to speech. You have the right to peaceably assemble.
You know, you have the right to maybe have an opinion, but you don't have the right to say masks don't work because they do. That would be a lie.
The right to
Because conservatives love to
the
use
right to threaten people. You don't have the right to shut down the interesting. And if you do that, you need to be punished so that we get less of that, so we disincentivize that.
Punishment doesn't necessarily reduce it sometimes. Like, we don't need a punishment system, we need a justice system. But Michael Knowles wants a punishment system. He doesn't care about rehabilitation or second chances or bailout. He just wants punishment, punishment, punishment. But not actually understanding why. It's like a parent punishing their child without necessarily understanding why they did it, or telling them why it's bad to do it as well. There's also that, again, conservatives and some others are not talking about that, and we should talk about that, why they did, and how to tell them not to do that, but to do it in a better and more peaceful way. But again, the right doesn't care, Michael Knowles doesn't care.
And so that we punish people who do very bad things. You're going to hear people say, this is outrageous, this is not in keeping with the American tradition, the Anglo-American tradition. So you're not even allowed to use that phrase anymore. Riot acts have a long history in our political tradition. You ever hear the phrase, oh man, read him the Riot Act? Oh yeah, that guy, you know what they're going to do to him? They're going to read him the Riot Act. You ever hear that expression? That expression refers to the Riot Act, an English law back in 1714, when Parliament passed the Riot Act for much the same reason that we need to pass the...
Wait. Pro-England, when England was doing bad things in a sense of a way, because... Wait, yeah, I think that is part of my comment here. Like, you do know that the American Revolution was kind of rioting and destroying property in a sense of a way, at face value, if I'm correct, right? You notice the beginning of our country was physical revolt against a government, right? When we actually at the first time we were like, hey, we want our country, England, the king, we want our own country, just, we want to be separate, blah blah blah. England was like, no. America was like, we're giving you multiple chances, we want our own country. They're like, no, and they're like, okay, revolution, in a sensible way. But we didn't want war, if I'm correct. We were like, hey.
Riot Act today down in Florida and hopefully elsewhere around the country. My
Let's see if
one
that helps.
real disappointment with the Trump administration, I felt this was just bad instincts, or he was being led by people who did not know what they were doing, was when he really went all in on the jailbreak bill, and he said, as conservatives, we need to let a bunch of criminals out of jail. I thought, President Trump, this is going against your political instincts.
That is true. I mean, Trump was actually trying to say if you burn the American flag, you should go to jail for 10 years. I mean, he's at a point, like, this was something rare for Trump. Like,
the sort of stuff you've talked about in your career. This ain't it.
That's not what you said. You said you should lock up all the illegal the illegal immigrants, the black people. I mean, the people who are bad. Trump, you're supposed to do that. Like, go on.
You've been so good on so much other stuff. But
you've been so good. You were targeting Muslims, targeting immigrants. You really didn't like people. You did a lot of things that were kind of shady sometimes. You were doing great, but this is bad. This is against your fascist government. I mean, republic government, Trump. Like,
yeah.
Oh,
I am
gosh.
glad to see Governor DeSantis is bringing us back a little bit in the direction of law and order. I hope that other governors, other legislators around the country do that as well, because we are not going to get any sort of real pushback from the squishes.
The squishes. I have a comment with the squishes. So, squishy Republicans, squishy conservatives are the logical, non-fascist ones. Okay, Michael Knowles, well then, I'm for the squishy publicans and the squishy Ur-Fascism, then, like, I'm for all the squishies. Yeah, like, I'm for the reasonable people, Mike. I'm for the squishies. Thank you, computer. Yeah, it's been, oh gosh, it's been so long. Like,